We're in the parks for our weekly Disneyland construction update. Let's take a look at what's going on at the Secret Path. They've revealed the water wheel at Adventureland Treehouse, and that is Scrim and Scaffold at Space Mountain. But first, can we talk about the state of affairs at ToonTown in San Fransokyo? Last week we saw construction walls up again at ToonTown, this time at the Centennial Park fountain. They had dug up the surrounding areas around the fountain itself and had ripped out all of the features in the fountain. A couple days later, rebar went down, getting ready for concrete, which it looks like they have poured that concrete this week. And it looks like they've also touched up the paint in this, the concrete surrounding the fountain. So, they are making brisk progress in that regard. I don't see any of the elements back yet around the fountain, though those will probably be done last. And then I would expect by, hopefully, this time next week, we'll see the actual surface, because it's not concrete that is going to be the final product here around the fountain. They put another surface layer of like that fake grass stuff, the turf. Not quite the same turf that you see in Centennial Park, but something similar, but a little bit more sturdy, a little bit more like concrete as opposed to a little bit more like grass. So that's the good news here, that things are progressing swiftly, it looks like, and we're moving closer to a quick resolution to what's happening at Centennial Park, or the fountain, I should say. By the way, let's take a look back at the actual Centennial Park in the turf area, where last week we saw the black covering, and that's still there for the most part. But look, they've also dug out a section around that tree. You recall, this is where the first repair was happening. When they put the walls up the first time, that was the primary location of the work being done. So they have redug up that section, and it brings up, it's kind of an interesting thing, because as soon as they're done with Centennial Park and the fountain, as soon as that is open, the next day they're going to close Goofy's Playyard, because it is my understanding that more of the same of whatever it is, I don't want to speculate, but I'm hearing things, whatever it is that's happening in ToonTown, it has extended into Goofy's Playyard. They're doing this one section at a time. Goofy's Playyard will go down for, I think, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks or something like that, so they can do whatever it is that they need to do. It's very likely the work that they've got pending at Goofy's is the reason why they haven't replaced the birdhouse or the seesaws out in front of his house. And it's possibly the reason why they never wrapped up the work at Donald's duck pond, where they're still waiting for them to finish whatever it is that they're doing in the splash pad. And that's the concerning thing about what's happening in ToonTown, is that all of these repairs that we're witnessing, everything that's going on is focused solely on the new stuff. The areas of the land that were redone, the park, Goofy's house, Donald's boat, the fountain, the grassy areas. Notice nothing is wrong with Roger Rabbit, Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, in terms of there being construction work done. It's breaking down, but that's a different story. Mickey Minnie's house, gadgets, those are all doing just fine. And it's because those existing foundations weren't touched. But the foundations were all touched in some degree in those areas that are being worked on. And it's now affected everything, I think. I think it's affected everything. So where this ends or where this goes is of concern, and I have to believe we can only assume that it's because they rushed this job. Now, they might say, well, we had that surprise rainstorm, that delayed it was right near the completion of the project, and that made it that would cost them a few days probably. It rained solid for a couple of days, and that set them back. Then they had to wait, I'm sure, for other reasons after that. But if it were just a few days, I feel like they could have easily set back. But I feel like they were so dead set on meeting that opening date that they may not have done as complete and as thorough a job as they should have with ToonTown. So I'm a little bit concerned. We're going to stay tuned on this, because I'll say one thing: whatever they did to because Centennial Park, the grassy area where the kids play with the roots and all that, that was the first thing to go down. It hasn't had a problem since they did whatever it is that they did. So hopefully The same will be true for these other areas. The grassy areas that they replaced already out in front of Roger Rabbit and in front of Donald's boat, and these areas today. Hoping for the best on this, but I'm crossing my fingers that things go well. Speaking of projects that aren't going very well at the start, San Fransokyo, the land itself, well, whatever you want to call it, the food court itself is doing fine. It's the bridge. Something's got to be done about the bridge, Marty. Well, first, let me just say, yes, there are issues. And as we see already, we can see areas where people have been pointing out all over social media, the cracks in the armor, to use a phrase. It's as if it was put together like Lego parts. It was snap-on. Right? We knew that was going to be the case, but it just looks unfinished in a lot of areas. It looks like it's not airtight, that they haven't really sealed things up, and it's showing immediate signs of wear and breaking down under the pressure. One of the areas that people are pointing out, though, which I should caution and give a moment of hesitation. One of the areas that people keep pointing out is that little section right there. People are saying, okay, so a chunk has fallen off. I don't think so. I don't think a chunk has fallen off, because you'll see it's a very neat little piece, and it's not as if it's not perforated in any way, in the sense that that part wasn't an individual piece that fell off. You'll also note there's a matching one on the opposite pier post, very similar. I think that was done intentional. I think they cut that out for some reason. Maybe it didn't fit correctly, and they had to basically fabricate a way for it to fit on there. So they had to cut a piece out in order for it to fit. But I want to say that was done intentionally. But having said that, I can't really speak to that thing right there. I don't know if that's. I mean, it should look better than that. It really should. I can't lie. It should look better than that. I want it to look better than that. Is that a screw coming? That's a screw coming out, you guys. This is another rush job. It feels like it's not a complete job. They need to put more time into these projects. They need to put more care into these projects. They really do. It's just like they're like, that's good. We did it. That's good enough. Let's go. Let's wrap it up. Meanwhile, people are complaining that it's taking too long to do Adventureland Treehouse, which we're going to get to in just a second. But before we do, let's finish off our tour here at San Fransokyo. Got some new banners up. That's a lot of banners representing all of the big heroes, the 6 heroes, as it were. That's a lot of banners. They got some new paper lanterns, Baymax paper lanterns up out in front of Aunt Cass's Cafe, or I think it's just Aunt Cass Cafe. Yeah, Aunt Cass. So they're still adding elements to San Fransokyo. I haven't been over there since it opened. Tried any of the food yet again, but it's stayed busy. It's very popular still. People are still, it should be. Pacific San Fransokyo was always busy, and it'll remain that way, even more so today. Quick pit stop over at Golden Zephyr, still closed. Schmoozies, still closed. Stage 17 is now closed. The watch is on to find out what they're doing here. What are they going to do with Stage 17? Leave us a comment, you guys. Tell us what you think the Disney company is going to do with Stage 17. I'm trying to manifest a bulldozer, and I want you all to join me in this. I want you all to join me on manifesting a bulldozer. And they might as well just keep that thing wrecking all the way through the back lot. We'll head over to Disneyland. Stop off at Pelican Landing, where we can see that the Mark Twain is docked. Has been for a few days now. It's behind Scrim and Scaffold. It is down for a refurb. And the refurb that they're performing is here. They're going to do the refurb right here on site. That's why the Scrim and Scaffolding is there. And that's also why the secret path is closed. I know people have been checking in on me, that I've gotten some updates on social media. People are, letting me know that the secret path is closed. And whether or not, like they want to do wellness check on me, see how I'm doing. I'm doing fine. I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all about this. It is completely expected. I think they've done this before when they were refurbing the Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. But they don't want people to see, or they want to limit visibility as much as possible to whatever they're doing to the Mark Twain. So they're going to close off the secret path. It does not mean they're going to do any kind of demo. I don't believe. I mean, I could be wrong, I guess, but I'm 95% sure this is nothing. This is just for the Mark Twain. And when the Mark Twain reopens, we'll be good to go, and that path will be reopened again. While we're here, let's take a quick peek at Tianas Bayou Adventure. Still got that plastic wrap on the top third of the mountain. Somebody told me what they were doing, and now I've forgotten what it was. But it's nothing that's show related in the sense that they're not putting anything on. They're not fabricating anything. I think it's just to protect whatever it is that they're doing from, extending out, reaching out into the public airspace, as it were. So nothing to be vigilant about in terms of trying to figure out what they're doing. We weren't able to get on the Mark Twain, so we can't see over the wall, but it does look like they're doing something over the wall. This light fixture there, that's new. I think that's a light fixture, right? So they're about to perform something there. I'll try to get an update on this. Maybe we'll put it on social or update you guys in the meantime. But I feel like they're about to do something on that. That's right about where the ride vehicles would pass by. Stop off real quick here to say hello to the squirrel, which Liz is not. Apparently, she's not in on this squirrel hunt game yet. I'm gonna have to get her dialed in and look for that squirrel, but he's still there. I'll probably stop looking for the squirrel after a few weeks, but it's fun. Okay, looks like the sheathing is still sheathing down there by the railroad, and that's it for that side of things. The front of the building looks about the same as usual. Same for the back side. That's right about in the direction where the critter house is that we check in. And they have cut out a whole section of that rock wall there. Curious to find out what that's about. Is that the same one? I think that might be the same one up there beyond that tree. You can see the critter house is still there, by the way. I wonder, that's just to get at something, whatever it is that they need to get at in there, and then they patch it up again. I wonder how long that'll take. Otherwise, everything is 6s and 7s at Tianas Bayou Adventure. What's not 6s and 7s is Princess Fantasy Faire. They're done. All the scrim and scaffolding is down, revealing a lovely new paint job. You can see that it looks more or less the same as it did before, more or less the same color pattern, a little bit more vibrant, and they've tweaked the palette just a little bit in certain parts. Some areas are less orange than they were before, but more or less, I think it looks about the same, just a fresher, more vibrant coat of paint on there. And, obviously, it looks good. I'm grateful and glad that they did. Well done, Disney, for keeping things looking fresh and new. That looks pretty new right there. Actually, to the point where I thought, was that like that before? I never really paid attention to it, obviously, but that is how it looked before. But it looks very nice, very clean, very detailed. I'm digging it. By the way, a lot of this is hand painted. Like the areas where they're showing, detail in, like aged wood, that kind of thing. Hand painted, those areas were. All right, we mentioned Adventureland Treehouse earlier when we were talking about San Fransokyo. And I said, people are like, Dave, why is it taking so long? They've been doing this for 2 years. Well, at this point, I would like to say we need to make up our mind. What do we want? You know what I mean? What do we want? They rushed San Fransokyo, they rushed ToonTown, but they're taking too long to do Adventureland Treehouse. So we got to find a middle ground on this debate, I think. Now, here's another thing. You'll recall that we speculated that the reason why they closed the treehouse to begin with was that they were having issues with all of the natural wood surfaces. And I had said a year ago or more, the first thing that I heard that they were doing was ripping out and replacing all of the natural wood. Not the fake wood, not the pretend tree stuff, but the real stuff. There was rot and decay. And it's why, we had heard stories of pieces of the wood, falling apart while people were walking on it. It became a hazard. That's a safety thing. So, yeah, I feel like they do need to be taking their time with this to make sure that it's done well and correct. So while yes, it does seem like they're taking forever to do it, and we would wish that it would be done quicker. I would prefer this over rushing it like they did at ToonTown. I would have preferred they waited a month to finish ToonTown. I would have preferred that they waited and applied the snap-on bridge together correctly. We can wait, you guys. There's no reason for you to be. Nobody's setting their vacation schedules around what day San Fransokyo opens. That's a locals thing. The hype that people have for opening day, that's a locals thing. We'll come back in a month. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't speak for everybody, but that's just the way I see it. I would have been fine. As for the Treehouse, there's not a lot left to do. We can't see what they're doing on the ground. They were pretty far off last time we looked here. But one thing we can see is that the plastic wrap has been taken off the water wheel. It is uncovered now. So pretty soon we'll see them testing that. We'll see the water wheel turning, delivering water to the buckets, and the buckets delivering water to the second floor of the Treehouse. Cool. Still don't know what they're doing behind that scrim. And wait, that's the new staircase. Look at that. Been waiting for this. Okay, so that's the new it's unfinished. It looks like is that steel? How does that work? They make it steel first? I can't tell if that's steel or not. I think it is. And then they fabricate some wood appearances around it? Well, anyway, whatever they're doing, we're at that phase of creating the exit staircase, which is fun because we've been waiting for them to do that as well. There's another look at the water wheel and the staircase going up, the entrance staircase. Okay, so we're looking at still another couple weeks at least before Adventureland Treehouse opens. To see what's happening in downtown Disney, Scrim and Scaffold still up on the rear part of the very large building out there in the middle of downtown Disney. Sheathing is up. I'll be using that word a lot lately because I learned it recently, so that's why I say it now, but I didn't used to. Still dirt over there to the right, and some palm trees, lovely palm trees, and other kinds of trees being situated along or around the downtown Disney site. This is moving along at a pace now. I'm really enjoying this. We got some photos this week again from the Fresh Baked Street team. The roof is getting more and more finished. Every time we come back here, there's, it's closing up further and further. It's becoming more and more a proper looking building. Looks like they are now appending to the swoop feature. First, it was gliding down and creating, that just the downward shape. And now it's starting to rise up again at the lip. They're creating a lip to the roofline feature, which is, obviously how things look in the concept art. This is going to be a wonderful looking building. Again, I have to question though. I'm really curious. They did what they did to Ralph Brenna's Jazz Kitchen, ostensibly because they wanted a more generic looking facade so that they could possibly do something else with it. And then they turn right around and build one of the most unique structures, probably the most unique structure in all of downtown Disney, to the point where it would be impossible for this thing to be anything other than a Din Tai Fung. So as much as I love it and I'm grateful, I would rather they do these things. I just don't understand why they had to do that to the Jazz Kitchen, unless they did what they did to the Jazz Kitchen because they didn't want it to compete with Tiana's Palace. Chew on that if you would like. Guitar picks are progressing. You get the breeze blocks there, still underway. And then we can see a bit of progress happening in that top right corner of the frame there. That's going to be another building. They still got a ways. They still got something to make vertical there in that section. Is that tree supposed to be there? I feel like that tree is not supposed to be there, or it's in the way of whatever building that they're trying to make. I don't know. I got to watch out for that. But that's the downtown Disney site now. While we were there, Liz found this. They put up some scrim in the parking lot, the Disneyland Hotel parking lot. This is the approach to bag check on the downtown Disney side. On the ESPN zone side, bag check is on the other side of that scrim. I'm wondering if this is the beginnings, because they're supposed to be redoing the entrance to downtown Disney as part of this particular entrance as part of the update. It's going to be a more mid-century modern design. Here's the concept art. I wonder if that's what this is, because at some point they need to start on that, right? At some point they got to start working on that. So here's to hoping. Man, that's just concrete though. That's just the road surface. It's not the actual entrance. The actual entrance on the other side of that bag check. I don't know. Stay tuned. This is gonna be a mystery that I'm gonna want to get into. It's very possible though, this is just like every other mystery where it just turns out to be nothing. But today, it's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen. Last week we said by the time we come back, all the scrim and scaffold will be down around the sorcerer's hat. This week, all the scrim and scaffolding is down around the sorcerer's hat. The walls are still up, but the sorcerer's hat is completely visible. Looks exactly the same as it did before. I mean, I don't know. I don't see any difference. Guys, tell me what you see. I'm looking at some old photos, and at one point they changed the badge, the emblem on the front, to one of the anniversary Ds. And then it's gone back to the regular Disneyland Hotel badge on there. But I don't see, otherwise, I mean, it looks exactly the same. Wait, is it facing a different direction? Look on this one. It's tilted to the left. I know we're looking at it from a different angle, but this looks like it's tilting. That looks like it's a different angle. I'm gonna have to get a matching angle on this one because we've only seen it from this side. But doesn't that look like it's tilting in a different direction? That can't possibly be what they were doing. It does. It does look like they're at a different direction. Oh man, I don't know. That's wild. Okay, we'll have to come back to that. Sorcerer's Hat, Tangaroa Terrace. They've already finished, it looks like, at least some of what they were doing, and I can't tell. We're gonna have to dine there to find out if it's any different than it was before, but it looks the same to me. Stop over at the Pixar Place Hotel. Liz took a peek at the current progress of Great Maple Restaurant. They're not very far. They're not very far along. And that brings us to near the end of our show. We're back at Disneyland. We're at Space Mountain. It's closed. We knew it was going to be closed, and it's going to be closed for more than a month. But we didn't know. We still don't know for sure what they're doing. But I was not expecting. I thought it was going to be interior work. I thought it was going to be inside. But there's scrim and scaffold on the exterior of the show building. Not the actual mountain itself. The mountain itself has not been covered. It's just around the perimeter of the show building. Both the main platform out there and the extended interior queue. Very interesting. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on what they could be doing there. I was there a few days ago when this, the day the scrim went up, and I heard whooping and hollering. I really did. I heard people working out there, and I even saw some, a hard hat on the scaffolding inside. I couldn't make out what he was doing. It was just such a small little slice that it would have been impossible to get any context about in terms of what they were doing. But they are making a racket. So they're banging around on something in the exteriors of the Space Mountain queue, the exterior queue, and it makes me wonder if they're up to something like legitimate, because it's taking a month. It's going to take a month or more to do this. I think they said near the end of October that it's going to be reopening. I don't know, man. The wishful thinking, the dream is that they're doing a holiday, a Christmas overlay. I don't think that's possible. And this would dispel that. If they're putting scrim and scaffolding on the exteriors, this would dispel that notion. I would have preferred, them not doing that, the scrim and scaffolding outside if that were the case. It would be fun. It would be fun to have a holiday, like Santa flying through space. I mean, that would be fun, right? Stay tuned. Take a month. So whatever it is that they're doing that's taking that long is more than a little, I guess is the only way I can put that. And I'll note here also that there's a bunch of construction walls up around the alien spacecraft at the DVC kiosk. It's been this way actually for a couple of weeks, but this is the first time we reported on it. But there are construction walls up around the flying saucer. They're renovating their flying saucer. So we need to hover over to the Little Green Men store command if we want to talk to somebody about DVC. Maybe getting our eyes on one of those suites on September 28th when it is open for reviewing by the public. That's a lot of walls. That's a lot of walls. Okay, guys, that's it for us in our update this week. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, everybody. Follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on X at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. If you like our show and want to show you support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh baked.